Hi, my name is John Anderson. Thanks for joining me on this short video. I'm here today with Greg Roworth, the author of Put Your Business on Autopilot. And if you're working too hard in your business, you're busy, but still not getting the return you want or the lifestyle you want, then Greg is the man to help you. Today I'm going to be asking Greg, what is the fundamental flaw that most business owners build into their businesses that actually keeps them trapped in their businesses, working harder than ever? So Greg, great to have you here today.
Thank you, John.
So I'm dying to know the fundamental flaw.
Right. Yeah, well, it's amazing to me that more people aren't talking about this fundamental flaw, because it's so obvious when you look at it, that most business owners create a business that ends up being totally dependent on themselves. Naturally, when you start a business, it's about you. You've got a skill in a certain area, you've got a desire and a passion to promote a product or a service in the marketplace. So if that product's any good, people want more of it. So demand grows and you have to start to grow a business. And that's the natural state of how business should be. It should continue to grow because demand should grow with the popularity of the product or service. But what tends to happen is that the typical way a business owner grows a business ends up creating more work for the owner. And I think statistics bear that out. Around the world, surveys show that business owners tend to work more than 50 hours a week in their business on average, and in Australia that's 56 hours a week for the average business owner to be at work. Which is almost, well, probably a bit more than 50% more than most employees end up working in the business.
Sure.
So often the business owners started out with dreams of wealth and freedom that the business is going to create, but after a few years they're snowed under with work and no longer can see a way out.
Burnt out, resentful.
And often, stressed out, damaged health and damaged relationships as a result.
And I think most business owners have been there. I've certainly been there.
Well, I've been there myself. And luckily I found a mentor who could show me how to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for the business. And that's really the breakthrough, actually having a new way of doing things, a new system. That's right.
So, I mean, obviously there are a lot of business coaches about. Is that who we should go to as a saviour?
You'd think that would be the case, but unfortunately my experience is that most business coaches aren't aware of this fundamental flaw, or aren't really aware of what needs to be done to break through and create a business that works. And that's because the way business coaches are engaged is typically because a business owner has a short-term crisis that they need solved. So they ask the business owner to help them with that particular problem. And that might be increasing sales. They don't have enough customers or don't have enough sales, so they'll get a business coach to help them grow their sales. So naturally the business owner coach will come in and focus on that area, help them achieve more sales, but unfortunately that just pushes the owner into that corner where they're working harder. So it definitely is the right way to go, but you've got to have the right business coach, the right mentor who understands the particular business growth model that will get through these particular hurdles in the business, and ideally have a system that shows the business owner how to grow through these hurdles and not get trapped in that fundamental flaw that most business owners push themselves into.
So having an actual long-term plan of how to have your business take off without you doing all the work.
That's the secret to it.
That's the secret. What are some of the mistakes that people make that are related to this fundamental flaw?
Well, the first mistake that I see most business owners making is to operate with a short-term focus. They're focused on what needs to be done to get the sales this week, or get the work out the door this month, how to get the bills paid. which is quite natural, and that needs to happen. But just having a short-term focus means that most business owners actually working in the business and working hard to generate that result, whereas they really, as well as that short-term focus, need to have their eyes firmly fixed on the long-term vision and developing a long-term plan for the business.
Sure.
So that they can work on the business to create a business that works, rather than just continuing to pile on the work themselves to get the results.
Yeah, because you're just going to have to do the same amount of work next month unless you actually start planning for a better future.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah. And what is there any others that?
Well, another mistake I see is that in marketing, people tend to be quite reactive there as well, and it's based around how much sales the business has and whether they're busy. If the sales drop off and there are people with time on their hands, the owner will typically think, well, we better do some advertising and get more sales.
Sure.
So they put an ad, start some advertising, and it tends to work. Increases the sales, but it gets to a point where everyone gets too busy.
Yeah.
So they tend to stop the advertising so that they can maintain a status quo. Unfortunately, that cycle just keeps on repeating itself, and there's never a sustainable growth for the business achieved by that methodology.
So very reactive.
Tends to be a reactive approach, meaning that the business stays around about the same level. Businesses tend to be grown to a point where an owner can keep control of all the activity that's going on by reacting to various activities and responses and crises, but that means they can never push through that ceiling that they create for themselves.
Very good, very good.
And obviously one of the reasons for that is an inability to delegate effectively.
Yeah.
Trying to retain control of what's going on in the business. There's a fear that if they hand it off to someone else, it's not going to be done as well or as quickly. So there's
you want a job done right, do it yourself.
That seems to be the motto that a lot of people have. Unfortunately, that creates a limit and a ceiling on business growth.
Okay, and you'll be doing it next month and next month.
Exactly. So there has to be a process of delegation, training people to do the job properly and setting them up for success.
Sure.
Rather than a continual struggle about who's going to do that work.
And I suppose the reality is at the start they're not going to do it as well as the business owners. So that's true. What's the secret there?
Well, delegating with a process of teaching someone how to do the job properly. And again, not doing it in a reactive manner, but employing people according to a plan, so that you actually plan for growth rather than react to a crisis of being busy and needing someone else. And when you're busy and you need someone desperately, you can't really give them the input and the training and teaching and support they need to do the job effectively.
I remember once you said people just usually grab, their brother or
that's right.
Just someone that's handy, and because they're usually doing it to, I don't have enough time, and so they're just, who can I get on? And
that's often what happens.
That's often what happens, and yet there's no training process, there's no quality control system put in place. So
that's right.
That's the curse of the reactive approach. Greg, you've been very generous with your time and information. Thank you for that. If anyone is watching this video and wants to know more about this process, what should they do?
Well, thanks, John. I think probably the first thing they should do is read my book, Put Your Business on Autopilot. But there's also some other things that they can do. On our website, they've got access to our free report called the Freedom Challenge, which goes into more detail about the 5 critical mistakes and how to avoid them. Plus, just keep your eye open for a lot of content that we'll be bringing your way, with more emails coming up with articles and video content that will teach you what you need to do to focus on growing your business and avoiding that fundamental flaw, and creating a business that works so well that you won't have to.
Thanks so much. It's been great to be here with you, and thanks again, Greg.
Thank you, John.